When in this whole process did you know that healing and healing the root and healing the heart was something that you had to pursue and serve?
In 1969, I was introduced to Yogi Bhajan, an East Indian yogi, and I studied with him and became a Kundalini yoga practitioner. At the end of the classes that I was teaching, the yogi would come in and he would point to different people. And he said, "Mark, I want you to work on her back. I want you to work on his shoulders and this person's legs." I said, "Yes, sir." Okay. That's when it all started. Then at other times, he would take me aside and he said, "Let me show you some yogic East Indian healing methods and how to release the body easily." And that's where it all started.
And so, from the very first feel with Yogi Bhajan, did you feel really connected to this and really enlivened by this? And really...
I felt like I just stepped into what I was supposed to be doing. Before that, it was a life that in some ways interesting, exciting, and I probably could say I've lived 5 lifetimes during that time. But this immediately struck my heart, struck a chord, and this is what I knew I needed to do.
And so how did that progress? How did you leave those classes with Yogi Bhajan and make it your life's work, your life's destiny?
Well, it led me to studying Qigong, believe it or not. Cultivating Qi was the next step. And from there, I became a martial artist, first in the Korean style Hapkido, and then in Aikido, Japanese style, all based on internal energy and, vital energy, life energy, Qi. And that was the beginning of really connecting the healing with the use of Qi as a core. And it just really took off from there in the sense that it kept evolving and became more aware of what to work with, the challenges that people had, and exactly how that would be communicated to me and how I could feel it and what I could do about it to release and facilitate and potentialize those areas.
And when did the BioSync, that particular method, that particular format, that particular, teaching it all over the world, how did that start and when did that start?
The name BioSync was coined in 1988. And it's a combination of bio, meaning life, and sync, meaning synchronicity. So to have a body that is in complete harmony and homeostasis is the idea. And that's mentally, emotionally, physically. Because the physical body is only an outer expression of all of that. So when you work with a client being, you're really addressing all those challenges, all those issues.
And I spoke at the beginning about mysticism always playing an important part of your life and spirituality. And how did that kind of flow through BioSync, and how did that, make it, the way it was and the way you've pursued it and the way you've taught it and the way you've practiced it?
It's the energy of the Qi force, which is really what you might say creates the magic of the unfoldment and the release of trauma patterns that are deeply set. They can be genetic, they can be acquired in this life, but they're recorded in the tissue. And in some part of the body, that challenge, that dysfunction exists, and it needs to be addressed, needs to be unwound, needs to be freed, and so that it can go into its ideal functioning state. Homeostasis, if you want to say that.
So one of the important parts of BioSync or any healing method is to be in the moment, to be conscious.
That it couldn't be better said. Because if you're not in the moment, you're doing some kind of a technique or movement that may not have any relevance to anything that's going on with that client.
So how in your life, I think that's, part of like any healing or almost any spiritual path. In your life and your way of being, how did you develop this tool to actually be in the moment? Because that's one of those things that's easy for you to say, and sometimes it's not so easy to do all the time. But you have this. How do you get there? How do you stay there?
I think one thing that may take you there, having gone through, as you mentioned, the Holocaust and so on, and you're in that survival state where any moment anything could happen to you, you have to be in the moment. You have to be in the moment, and I think maybe that would have had an influence in the way that...
So it propelled you from really early on.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
And also studying with Yogi Bhajan. I mean, probably all the spiritual pathways.
Meditations and the focus on doing the postures, the asanas and the meditations and the practices that we do. You have to be in the moment. You have to be focused, because if you're not, you're just doing a movement.
It's a habit. It's like a machine, but you want to be a conscious, living healer. So at the beginning of you doing BioSync, were you not as clear or not as precise about being in the moment and have you built up like an experience and a history and a way of being more in the moment and more precise and more energetically connected with the person?
I feel, just as this is a good question you brought up, because when I first started doing the healing work that Yogiji asked me to do with the different people in the class that I just taught, it was totally intuitive, because I had had no training at all. But there is a movement, first of all, that I did. I remember the first person that he asked me to work with, that I'm still doing. But I'm aware of now.
You're conscious.
Consciously aware of what that movement is and how it's done, how the use of the chi energy enters into that movement and so on. Yet I did that intuitively the first time I ever worked with somebody. So there is an evolution that's involved. And I consider the time from until 1986 really the evolutionary period, where really the awareness, the concepts, the whole philosophy of BioSync really evolved and developed. And now in the workshops I teach and the practitioners I teach, it's almost like a download. It's the growth that I had to go through seems to be immediate in terms of the way that a practitioner can get into that state and get into that awareness, that knowledge. That's magic to me.